You are going to be watching this video today, and I want you thinking about this question right here. How does environment shape where we live? Does it really matter to people who lived back in the first early Americans?
Finding food, water, and shelter is something every culture relies on for survival. This is as true in your community today as it was hundreds of years ago. Today, December is going to explore an ancient culture found in southwest Colorado.
My name's December and this is my story.
Here at Mesa Verde National Park, you can get a great glimpse of what life might have been like hundreds of years ago. Located in the mountainous regions of southwest Colorado, this area was once home to the ancient Puebloans, or Anasazi. As we take our tour today, you will find that this national park is filled with pieces of the past. December and her father have traveled from New Mexico to meet with Park Ranger Linda. She is going to guide them on a fascinating tour of the ruins.
This is a pit house. It shows the early days of living here and starting about 600 AD. And you've got the fire pit. You've got your posters to bring your uprights so you can put some headspace in it. That would all be covered with plaster with just a hole down through the top.
Digging out these pit houses must have taken a long time. As time went on, the ancient Puebloans began building up instead of digging down. Their community was growing and they needed new, safer ways to provide shelter.
Here's where we have one of the original villages. It only has one row of stones that make the walls, not only in between the rooms, but on the outside. So it's called one-course masonry, and it's called a village. The word Pueblo means village in Spanish, and because it's all connected together. Does it remind you of a modern-day apartment house?
Mm-hmm.
As these ancient people grew up out of their pit houses and into their above-ground pueblos, the pit houses took on many uses.
What are the kivas for?
The kiva is a Hopi word for room underneath. They were ceremonial areas. They would have all been roofed over, and they would have been used for seasonal ceremonies, for rites of passage, for curing ceremonies.
The ancient Puebloans continued to develop their skills and found ways to shape the world around them. Perhaps the most impressive showing of how they did this is at one of Mesa Verde's most treasured places.
And here we see the palace in a cliff.
Cool.
The Anasazi were incredibly resourceful in their environment. Building into the cliffs for shelter while using the land above for farming was ingenious. December finds all this pretty amazing and takes time to admire the ancient dwellings in the park. Mesa Verde has over 300 cliff dwellings that showcase how these ancient people once lived. Archaeologists believe they moved into the cliff dwellings around 1100 AD. These stone towns feature storage space, work areas for preparing food and clothing, fire pits for cooking, and kivas for special celebrations.
In most of the rooms, they would have stored ceremonial objects, seeds for the next planting season, dried corn, dried beans, and squash that's dried. Well, what do you think it would have been like to live here 1,000 years ago?
Probably have to look for food every day.
Every day. And in the winter, it would be almost impossible. But so we'd have to do a lot of looking, especially in the spring and the fall.
The Anasazi picked berries from the trees. They grew crops like corn and maize, and they used the rain and natural springs for hydration. They used their surrounding environment in nearly every way they could. December is simply amazed with Mesa Verde National Park, and she wants to make sure that places like this are around for generations to come.
Thanks for coming to Mesa Verde.
Yeah, thank you.
As her journey draws to a close, December realizes how the places we live in also shape how we live. The Puebloans were able to use their environment to provide food, shelter, and sustain their community for nearly 1,000 years. That's pretty amazing.
I enjoyed this adventure today and I learned a lot.